India is on the brink of an unprecedented crisis that threatens its very existence. Water deficit. The country's colossal water problem is poised to set a chain of catastrophic events in motion, with a growing burgeoning migration issue on the horizon. This video examines the double whammy India faces and explores potential solutions to address the crisis. Now, why has the tranquil sound of trickling water in the 7th largest country in the world been replaced with desperate pleas for a drop? India's population, which stands at nearly 1.4 billion people, significantly strains water resources. The demand for water in India has become increasingly evident in statistical data. Roughly 50 years ago, each individual in India had access to approximately 5,000 cubic meters of water. However, due to population growth and increased water consumption, this amount has decreased to 1,500 cubic meters over the years.
A village in Maharashtra's Telambadi district is grappling with severe water shortage. Due to the acute water crisis, women in the village are forced to fetch water from the well to meet their daily needs by risking their lives.
The current state of water availability in India is alarming. Since gaining independence 75 years ago, there has been a drastic decline of 75% in the annual amount of water accessible per person. This figure has dropped from 6,042 cubic meters in 1947 to just 1,486 cubic meters in 2021. Disturbingly, the projected per capita water availability in India is expected to decrease even further to 1,465 cubic meters by the year 2025. Simultaneously, climate change fuels this fire, exacerbating the water crisis by disrupting rainfall patterns and prolonged droughts. In fact, North India is expected to face a decline in fresh water availability by 2060 due to climate change-related factors. India's groundwater resources, a lifeline for many, are depleting alarmingly. This depletion stems from excessive extraction for agriculture, industry, and domestic use. An analysis by the Central Groundwater Board revealed that around 60% of India's groundwater wells have declined in water levels over the past decade. In some regions, the depletion rate is as high as 1 meter per year. Furthermore, river contamination has emerged as a critical concern.
Every summer morning, women and children of Telambadi in India trek about 2 kilometers to fetch water from dried-up wells that are filled by tankas. Even though their homes are not far from a dam that provides water, villagers say their supplies run short from March to May every year.
Approximately 70% of the available water in India is said to be contaminated, with sewage being the primary cause, accounting for 84 to 92% of the wastewater pollution. The remaining 8 to 16% is contributed by industrial wastewater. Over the years, the assessment of water quality has brought forth intriguing findings. In 2015, a staggering 70% of the rivers under scrutiny, specifically 275 out of the 390 monitored, were deemed polluted. Fast forward to 2022, when the tides have turned most encouragingly. Now, only 46% of the monitored rivers, 279 out of a robust 603, carry the unfortunate label of being polluted. These numbers paint a captivating picture of progress and an inspiring tale of environmental improvement. In cities, wastewater that hasn't been treated or only partially treated, originating from homes and businesses, frequently ends up directly in rivers and lakes. This wastewater is filled with dangerous microorganisms and substances, which pollute the water sources used for drinking and other activities. Specific areas in India, like portions of West Bengal, Bihar, and Assam, have noticeable amounts of arsenic and fluoride found naturally in their groundwater. Across India's vast expanse, the water crisis assumes diverse forms, each with its tale of desperation. Water scarcity is a permanent resident in the arid regions of Rajasthan and Gujarat, where relentless sun rays bear witness to parched earth. Low rainfall and limited groundwater reserves make everyday life a challenging ordeal for inhabitants. These regions witness farmers struggling to sustain agriculture, as evidenced by the Bay of Bengal branch, which runs parallel to the Arabian Sea branch and dries until it reaches Rajasthan. Metropolises like Mumbai, Delhi, and Chennai face their challenges, with rapid urbanization and population densities amplifying water shortages. In Chennai, for instance, the city experienced its worst water crisis in 2019, with the 4 main reservoirs drying up and citizens relying on water tankers for their daily needs. Water scarcity in India is a theoretical concept and a harrowing reality wreaking havoc nationwide. Every passing day brings more evidence of its devastating consequences, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. In rural areas, water scarcity strikes the heart of Indian society by severely affecting farmers and their livelihoods. With limited access to water, crops fail to thrive and food production plummets. In the crop year of 2021-22, India has foresaw a slight dip in wheat production, with estimates suggesting a decrease of nearly 3%. The anticipated output was projected to reach a sizable 106.84 million tons, leading to a rise in food insecurity in rural areas. This, in turn, has dire economic consequences for farmers as their incomes dwindle, pushing them further into poverty. Urban areas also face the brunt of water scarcity, grappling with severe shortages and leading to the implementation of stringent rationing measures. This unequal distribution of water resources often triggers social unrest, with protests and clashes over water sources becoming increasingly common. The effects of water scarcity extend beyond public order issues as disruptions in healthcare, sanitation, and education occur, further exacerbating socioeconomic disparities. Deteriorating living conditions and economic setbacks also plague urban areas affected by water scarcity. Inadequate water supply amplifies challenges related to sanitation, posing more significant health risks for marginalized communities. This perpetuates a cycle of poverty and hinders economic development, as the World Bank estimates an annual loss equivalent to 6% of India's GDP due to water scarcity in urban areas.
The government encourages us to breed animals, but what will we give them to drink if we don't have enough water to drink ourselves? This is the situation here. Only one water tanker comes to this village every day, which has a population of 600 people. If the tanker capacity is 1,000 liters, will it be enough for 600 people? People bathe, use toilets, etc. and many other small chores require water, and one tanker is not enough for us.
Businesses struggle to operate under water rationing, and scarcity-induced disruptions lead to job losses, exacerbating socioeconomic inequalities. Moreover, water scarcity leads to forced migration from rural areas to overcrowded urban centers. As farmers cannot sustain their agricultural practices, they have no choice but to seek refuge in cities. Picture a scene where farmland turns into a barren desert, crops fail, and wells run dry. It is within these chilling realities that the struggle begins. Farmers and their families, facing the bleak reality of water scarcity and lost livelihoods, are left with no choice but to migrate to urban areas. According to the 78th round of the Multiple Indicator Survey conducted by the National Sample Survey Organization in India, many individuals were compelled to leave their homes during 2020-21 due to water scarcity. Among the employed population, approximately 53.6% had to change their residences because of this issue. Similarly, 42.3% of individuals not in the labor force and 1.7% of the unemployed also had to migrate due to the lack of water. These findings highlight the widespread impact of water scarcity on people's living arrangements and the challenges it poses to individuals across different employment categories. The mass displacement of people fractures rural communities, eroding social bonds and cultural identities that have shaped India for centuries. As they traverse the country, people from Bihar and West Bengal, thirsty souls searching for sustenance, venture into the northwestern states of Punjab and Haryana, lured by the comforting presence of irrigation-fed lands. This migration dynamic places significant pressure on source and destination areas, straining resources and testing infrastructural capacities. The search for a drop of hope often leads them to crowded cities, clinging to the belief that a better future and access to vital water resources lie there, waiting to be discovered. As the landscape transforms and migrants converge upon urban centers, the impact reverberates through every aspect of life. Existing infrastructure buckles under the weight of this human tide, leading to overcrowding, inadequate housing, and overburdened utilities such as water supply, sanitation, and healthcare. Meanwhile, the depletion of skilled labor in rural areas disrupts agricultural productivity, exacerbating poverty and jeopardizing food security. Host communities grapple with the complexities of absorbing a new wave of migrants, leading to tensions and challenges in resource allocation, job availability, and social integration. As the scarcity of clean water intensifies, an invisible threat looms over the Indian population: waterborne diseases. Contaminated wells, rivers, and ponds become the only sources of hydration.
We don't get tankers here. There are not many wells which has sufficient plus clean water to drink. The bore wells are also not functional. Most of the times, our kids sleep thirsty. There is no water even to feed our animals.
Cholera, typhoid, dysentery, and diarrhea ravage communities, taking a heavy toll, particularly on innocent children. The consequences are devastating, leading to tragic loss of life, stunted growth, and impaired cognitive development. The domino effect of limited water access halts personal and environmental hygiene, painfully increasing the spread of infections. It is a battle for survival that demands urgent attention. Aggravating the situation, the ecological balance hangs by a thread. Desperate for water, newcomers often resort to unsustainable practices, further depleting already scarce resources and leaving behind a wake of environmental degradation. Like a sinister undertow, the water crisis drags down India's economic progress. The nation's backbone, agriculture, faces a barrage of challenges with insufficient water for irrigation. The result? Shriveling crop yields, diminished agricultural production, and financial ruin for countless farmers grappling with skyrocketing water costs. This affects rural towns and threatens the foundation of food security, given the crucial role Indian agriculture plays in feeding the nation. Industries that rely heavily on water, such as manufacturing and power generation, are entangled in the crisis, grappling with soaring production costs and dwindling profitability. The fallout comes in the form of unemployment and shattered dreams. The unequal distribution of water resources adds salt to the wound of socioeconomic disparities. Vulnerable communities dwelling in rural areas and urban slums bear the brunt of this crisis. Their right to safe drinking water, sanitation, and proper hygiene crushed under the weight of inequality. These disparities deepen existing social divides, robbing these communities of opportunities and exposing them to increased vulnerability, both socially and in terms of health. India's water crisis paints a stark and sobering picture of a nation wrestling with a fundamental resource on the verge of extinction. The water crisis in India is an urgent call for action, a battle to safeguard the most basic human necessity.
And this is something that happens every year for the period of 3 to 4 months. Women say it's painful because sometimes they have to walk 3 kilometers a day, not only once, twice, but 3 to 4 times, and sometimes even in the middle of the night to fetch water. The government has come up with many schemes on the ground level, but the implementation is zero, is what the villagers say.
Efficient water conservation and management strategies hold the key to overcoming the crisis. Adopting drip irrigation and micro-irrigation practices in agriculture can significantly reduce water wastage. Empowering farmers with knowledge about optimal water usage and promoting regionally suitable crop choices can enhance water efficiency without compromising productivity. Additionally, incentivizing rainwater harvesting techniques can capitalize on this valuable resource and make a substantial impact. Infrastructure improvements are also essential for enhancing water storage, distribution, and treatment. Constructing dams, reservoirs, and check dams will increase water storage capacity and availability. Strengthening water distribution networks and minimizing leakages are crucial steps towards ensuring that clean water reaches every corner of the country. Investing in advanced water treatment facilities is essential to deliver safe and potable water to communities. The agricultural adaptation toolkit should include short-term fixes and long-term plans, like planting drought-tolerant crops, early planting, enhancing the capacity to forecast weather or crop diversification to deal with severe weather patterns. Promoting sustainable practices and raising awareness is critical to addressing the crisis effectively. Encouraging individuals to adopt rainwater harvesting, recycling, and reuse practices can significantly conserve water resources. Disseminating information and education campaigns through media, educational institutions, and community initiatives can create a collective sense of responsibility toward water conservation. Collaborative efforts involving the government, communities, and individuals are fundamental in battling the water crisis. Despite Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi unveiling the Jal Jeevan Mission, which aimed to link every rural home to the water system by 2024, the government must proactively formulate robust policies, allocate resources for infrastructure development, and provide financial support to vulnerable communities. Engaging communities through participatory approaches and empowering them to take ownership of water resources are vital steps. Individuals have a crucial role to play by embracing water-saving habits, actively participating in community initiatives, and supporting organizations focused on water conservation. By implementing these strategies, India can rise above the challenges posed by the water crisis and create a sustainable and water-secure future. By joining hands at both societal and governmental levels, Indian citizens can overcome this fantastical nightmare and ensure a future where the nation's thirst is quenched. It is time to turn the page, rewriting India's water narrative, one chapter of hope and resilience at a time. Hit that subscribe button, comment, like, share, and watch the next video to embark on a transformative voyage of transforming the blueprint of your future.